So, can you teach me that new move? Can? Yes. Will? No. But why not? You're going too fast, Jay. You're missing out. Missing out? You're a low-tier hunter, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I want to be the best. Sure, you think that now, but it's sort of lonely at the top. You're weird. Shut up, Jay. Ladies, gentlemen, and monsters of all ages, there's something I've been thinking about for a while, and I think I'm finally ready to put it together in an actually coherent way. I miss being a noob. Of course, the beginning of Monster Hunter on this channel was heavily centered around the Pro and Noob series with Josh and I, where Josh had played Monster Hunter games for thousands and thousands of hours, and I was just picking one up for the first time and diving headfirst into what the series had to offer with the release of Monster Hunter World.
Oh, it does have legs!
Of course it has legs, it's a wyvern.
I didn't know that. I thought it was just a big fish.
But that was 4.5 years ago, and in that time, I've done so much. I've played so many different Monster Hunter games, and I've seen pretty much everything that the series has to offer in one way or another. I wouldn't say that I'm a super high-efficiency hunter among the best in the world or anything like that, but I think at this point it is impossible to call myself a noob anymore, with the same meaning that I had in the first place, at least. And, well, I miss it. Not the being called a noob part, but actually being one, because that is one of the great beauties of the Monster Hunter series. The surface level of Monster Hunter is brimming with beautiful creatures, locales, and a unique combat system that isn't really replicated in any other game or series out there that isn't directly called Monster Hunter. And the first time that I stepped into it, it was a truly whimsical experience. I spent an hour or two in the training room just messing around with different weapons to just pick one that I liked the feel of, that I felt was fun, and at least straightforward enough that I wouldn't be a direct hindrance to the hunt without knowing what I was doing. And then I began my journey bright-eyed and open-minded. These days, I'm acutely aware of so many of the deeper mechanics of the Monster Hunter games. Everything from hit zones on the monsters to motion values of different weapon attacks. I understand at least the generalities of how every single one of the weapons in the series works, different playstyles you can use with each one, and I can play each of these weapons at will. Switching between them isn't a big deal for me anymore. And while there is absolutely a certain satisfaction to that, not just the ability to switch between every weapon, but also just sort of know instinctively what I should be doing with each one, which part of each monster I should be focusing on, having a good idea of how to dodge most attacks that they will put out, even if I don't successfully avoid every single one. It does feel good, but it is totally different to the feeling of walking into this universe for the first time. And I think I'm far from the only one who has this feeling, this nostalgia for what it felt like almost a simpler time.
You know too much.
So let me try and remind you all what it felt like to know nothing in Monster Hunter, and why that is a beautiful feeling. When I first started, I picked up the dual blades as my original weapon. I almost started with the gun lance because I thought it was a sick-ass weapon that was relatively unique compared to other video games, but I could immediately tell I had no idea what I was doing when I was holding it, and it was not a weapon to be trifled with by just punching random buttons in to see what would happen. I didn't want to make people fail quests, so I instead went with dual blades. I stuck with them for my entire first playthrough through Monster Hunter World, all the way up to the final boss. I didn't really know the strongest combos to use with it by any means, but I loved the fluidity and the visual spectacle of the weapon. I loved the way the animations looked. It was awesome, and the way that it felt seeing all those numbers come up on the screen that quickly was just so cool, especially because at the time, I just had absolutely no basis of comparison for how big numbers could get in Monster Hunter. And so for this part of my journey, I just sort of hit buttons. I did the attacks that I thought were the coolest, and I did a whole lot of aerial Beyblading down monsters' spines because it was freaking awesome to me. At this point in time, every single new quest was a gift. Returning monsters meant nothing to me because every single thing that I came across was new in my eyes. Not even just new in the sense that it was a bit different, but totally and completely unique. A great example of what I mean is Pookie, an early monster in Monster Hunter World, and he was a new monster, but veteran hunters at this point would almost always compare him to Chameleos, who is also a lizardy monster with wings whose main weapon is poison. But I'd never seen a Chameleos, I'd never heard of what Chameleos was, so to me, Pookie was somewhat of an enigma, an entirely unique creature. I loved every part of him, and the same goes for nearly everything that I came across in the game. I thought the ancient forest itself was a ridiculously complex hunting ground and an incredible setting. It was my first map, after all. Even Great Jagras was amazing in his own way, and as I progressed through my first experiences with Monster Hunter one at a time, I slowly but surely fell in love with the beauty of this world, the satisfaction that I got from the combat even when I had no idea what I was doing. A knockdown on a monster felt like I was some sort of action movie hero, and mounting one, jumping on its back and just slowly stabbing it to the ground felt like it was right out of Lord of the Rings. Nothing was completely over the top, nothing made me think, well, the player character must be an alien or something. It was just strong-ass humans doing super cool shit back to back against incredible, vibrant, beautiful creatures unlike anything I'd seen in other video games and environments that also felt genuinely alive. The endemic life, the foraging components, and even just the backgrounds when you look off to the side of the map. I'll never forget the first time that I realized how small the Wildspire Wastes actually was as a map, because it just felt massive. They took a relatively contained area and just put so much desert in the distance past the playable area that it felt like you were in a gigantic sprawling sandscape, and I couldn't help but be in awe as I took it all in.
This guy spends so much time in the sand.
By the time that I finished Monster Hunter World and got to the endgame for the first time, I had no real idea what to do with myself. As far as I was concerned, the entire point of the game was to fight each monster for the first time and then overcome it, to meet each new creature, and once I had done that, it sort of felt like it was over for me. But then Josh started to push me towards building a proper set, putting the time in to make a weapon truly strong and feel what that's like against a monster. And the first time that I did that was making a build for the Dragon Piercer attack on the bow, and, well, I found a new love. I played exclusively Dragon Piercer bow for what feels like months, and on some monsters it was terrible, on others it was incredible, but I had fun every single time that I did it. It was in this moment that I realized truly that my enjoyment of the series had been entirely through the lens of dual blades, and that there were 13 other weapons I could play, 13 other full new ways to experience each and every monster, not even including different playstyles within each weapon. And that was the moment that I was truly hooked. I spent the next few months slowly learning and understanding the combat of the games on a significantly deeper level, and it gave me a fresh view of the game as I went through this process. It all felt just magical, like unlocking a door that I knew was there, but had no idea how to get through beforehand. A little bit after that, Josh brought me into the intense journey that was Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, and once again my understanding of the series was shattered for multiple reasons. First, I was used to the 5th generation style of everything, the way that the combat worked, the way that the maps worked, the way that the monsters worked, and, well, it's worth mentioning that in Monster Hunter World, the vast majority of the monsters were either fanged wyverns or flying wyverns. There were a couple of other monsters in other categories, but they were all relatively samey within that. However, I didn't know that at the time because they were the only monsters I'd ever fought. These categories didn't really mean anything to me. Each monster was its own entity, so they all felt crazy unique, and then I experienced Generations Ultimate, and I saw what the roster of the series truly had to offer. As I came to this game and tried to adjust to a totally new combat system, now taking on Hammer as my main weapon, I saw that I had merely uncovered the tip of the iceberg when it came to the monsters in the series. I was blown away one by one, from crabs to snakes. It just seemed impossible that these creatures were all a part of the same series.
Well, we broke his tail. What? What?
Friggin' spiders! I loved it, and they all felt so damn good to hunt, even as such varied entities. The old style of hunting was totally different as well, and learning the concept of hunting styles and hunter arts added a whole extra layer on top of that old style hunting in the first place. These are the two games that I can truly say I felt like a noob while I was playing. I had no idea what was going on. I was just along for the ride and enjoying absolutely every moment of it. But since then, things have been different. After finishing GU, I had seen most of the monsters in the main series of games at least, and to put it simply, things just weren't really surprising me anymore. At first it was this feeling that anything was possible, and my mind was just open to anything I could possibly see, but over time I realized that my brain had started categorizing everything. I would start to recognize attacks from monsters that were similar to other monsters' attacks, tail swipes happening twice with everything in the old generations, monsters whose bite attacks came in at the same angle as another monster. It didn't break my enjoyment, but I saw these patterns, and it started to remove a little bit of the whimsy for me. My build started to become incredibly offense-oriented, based simply around killing monsters as quickly as possible for efficiency purposes because I wanted to get more and more powerful. And after a while, I realized that my enjoyment was no longer from experiencing all these unique and crazy creatures, it was just from the satisfaction of doing slightly better on on every single hunt, from learning how to be a better hunter. That part sticks with me to this very day. I still get that enjoyment every single time I head out there on a hunt, and that's why I love these games. But these days I am firmly aware of the difference between these two types of enjoyment. I enjoy Monster Hunter now, I love Monster Hunter, but I will never have the same incredible mind-blowing experience that I had seeing each and every monster for the first time. Even a new Monster Hunter game these days just doesn't compare to what I felt originally. It gives a similar energy in smaller bursts, but only a fraction of the size, as there are many returning monsters and returning maps. I'm not criticizing the developers for using these returning things at all, as all they do is make them better, and I can only imagine the amount of effort it would take to create an entirely new monster from scratch, not to mention if a new game was entirely new monsters, entirely new concepts, no returning ones, and it still had to be balanced in a reasonable way. I'm simply saying that because I now know so many things that I didn't before, some of the magic is gone, and I miss that. I miss it so much. I don't miss being a hindrance to my hunting partners. In fact, I often feel like I'm able to be a shepherd for newer players to make it through hunts that they otherwise would struggle with, and I really enjoy that. But I absolutely miss being the sheep as well. That's it, everyone. It's all that I have to say right now, but I think I've managed to get my point across. I miss having just no idea what I was doing. It was a wonderful, whimsical time where it felt like the world was my oyster. If you are new to this series, if you're new to Monster Hunter, don't rush yourself. Don't push yourself to become the best hunter possible in the shortest amount of time required. Go slow. Take your time and really, genuinely, just truly enjoy the feeling of being a Monster Hunter noob, because that feeling is limited, and once it's gone, you can never truly recapture it. Like if you like the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.